Hey everyone, hope you're doing well. My name is Stevie B. If I have not met you in class, hello, hope you're doing great. Said that twice. Uh, so for my case study, I picked a small business and entrepreneurship, chapter 5, and I picked that chapter because that's what I'm doing, and there's a lot to learn about it essentially. And the way I wrote my case study is essentially based on how it works to be an entrepreneur and own a small business, and the ways to get there, obstacles you run into, the reality of people thinking bakeries are still a huge risk factor, and how to really thrive, benefit, use your resources, and really educate yourself. Take the time, do the research, study, all that. And also factors right now with the pandemic and what other businesses are doing to try to overcome that. Excuse me. So essentially, the way I started my case study off was like dreams versus factors. So obviously, when you first start wanting to be an entrepreneur, it's a dream. You have this big bubble. And where that comes in with factors is the reality check of how are you going to get there and what's going to be in your way for an obstacle. Main things is with small business owners is financing. I personally learned a lot in this experience and still currently am. But with bakeries, it's more of a high risk, especially right now, because people think that, they just make cake, that's all they do. But there's more to it. Small restaurants do have a large failure, about 15% a year for their first year for opening up. And that comes with not preparing with finances, business plan, contingency plans, manager operations, and just a really clear pact with your partners or whom you're working with. And also because a lot of times two people open bakeries up without any experience. I wanted to do that when I was 18, and thank God I didn't. Wouldn't have been good. But with that, so financial operations are extremely important, and then you really need to work on your business plan to get that kind of going and to understand where your concept is. But the thing is with bakeries, what people don't realize is that they actually generate 2.1% of the gross income profits in the States. And an article in 2018 stated that by 2021, that bakeries will have grown 5.1%. And they are a multi-billion-dollar corporation. Not just because they're mom and pop shops, because they also are commercial bakeries. Like Sadie Rose, for instance, you see them everywhere. At Bread and C, you see them everywhere. Most of the bread that you get at your restaurants are probably from those two wholesale bakeries, which is great. So that's like a nice way to prove a point. Also, how bakeries are really dominating and staying afloat, really paying attention, is the fact that they're following trends. And the biggest one right now, which keeps growing, is the dietary trends. Sugar-free, and then our favorite, gluten-free. And with the gluten-free, that has brought in almost 14% more just in bakeries, and 30% alone in distributors for other like bread producers. There we go. So with that, they're trying to break the mold. Traditional bakeries where you go in, you get your pastry, you leave, or you order your cake, but there was no experience. There was no real value to it besides if you maybe were well known on the Food Network and people saw you make cakes, so they like the name for association. But now, which is great, they're trying to really just push it out more. However, with that goes in hand when you want to open up your own spot, the money. So essentially what entrepreneurs need to do, and everything that we've learned in this chapter, is all the planning that goes into it and your research. Just equipment alone can cost $150,000, and then a build for a brand new bakery can cost close to $200,000 and if more, $200,000. So it's a lot of money, and it's a lot of big risks that go into it. And the thing is with that, being an entrepreneur, is how you pitch to be appealing. Elevator pitch, like absolutely, but at the same time too, you have to have hard facts, you have to have hard numbers, and you have to have done your due diligence of work. You have to make sure that all your boxes are checked, essentially, and that will help you succeed in the long run and prepare you for the best or the worst. Some issues that people have when it comes to opening a bakery is being told no. And there's a lot of reasons that go into that. So in our book, it states, to look at your location, geographic, demographic, streets as well. Like, how busy is your street? What's your foot traffic going to be like? You have to look into that and do primary research, really be in there and know if that area is going to be a good spot for you. And then with that as well, if it's kind of a slower area and people know that, they're like, well, what's the point of putting it there if you're not going to generate much traffic? Or you can have competition just down the street as well, and they're going to say, no, why am I going to invest my money in this if somebody else is going to be over here? Another thing that's really important too is understanding your marketing and planning strategy. With that, it's like there's so much more to it. You've got your product, price, place, production. And that's essentially what our goal is to do, is make one big facility. So I'm sitting in my brother-in-law's domain right now until we expand. And so what we're trying to do right now is we're fixing our business plan to implement better ways to get an investor. And ways to get an investor, also without being told no, is giving them a breadcrumb. So some people, for entrepreneurs, want to, they're willing to give a percentage of their business. Personally not. But other people are willing to give a return on investment. And that can be really, really good for the investor to see, because they're like, okay, so I'm going to give you this money. Here's this time frame, and this is what I'm going to get back in return, plus what I put in. That's awesome. But with that, you have to be very careful and write everything out and have an agreement with it to show that, are they going to be verbal investors? Are they silent investors? Do they expect discounts when they come in? So those are some serious factors that go into it as well. And then, so currently, sorry, I'm reading my notes. Currently, right now, one of the hardest things that's going on for restaurants is the pandemic. There's been at least 15 that I know that have closed down, and probably more. And a big problem with that is maybe the contingency planning of where they didn't put money away for this rainy day. And nobody saw it coming, unfortunately. But at the same time, too, this is a good way to learn. And some businesses are learning. So ways that the people are reaching out to try to fix this problem is they're doing Kickstarters and GoFundMe pages. And then they're trying to have people donate. They're giving them something in return, essentially. So they're, hey, if you donate this much money, I'm going to give you this food for free. I know El Zarape restaurant in Normal Heights, they're giving away gift cards. You buy a gift card for $50 and it's actually worth $100 to generate profit so people can do takeaway orders. Oh, sorry. And what other bakeries are doing too, which is a great idea, is that there's one place, it's called Butter and, the and symbol. And what they had addressed is that when this happened, they only had enough backup for a month before they had to close their doors permanently. So the owner was like, no, I don't want to do this. So what she did is she decided to take pre-made cakes, make them with quarantine like quotes on top, like don't touch your face, wash your hands, for $50. They're ready to go. And that was a way for them to generate profit. They had the busiest weekend of cake sales that she's ever had. And they were able to take care of finances for that time period, for that month. And then they were able to put money away for that rainy day stash just in case. So those are really big factors when it comes to entrepreneurs and small business. You have to have your contingency plans. You have to have everything laid out for you. And you really have to just do your research, because if you don't have answers for investors or bank loans, you probably won't be getting anything. And that's another thing with bank loans. You have to, the best way to get bank loans is either apply for equipment or apply when you have capital or some type of equity. You're more than likely going to get more of an edge with that if you have something they can rely on, that it's not going to be an issue. However, right now, they're not really giving out loans because they're trying to give loans to small businesses. Certain banks are giving loans to small businesses that are already inactive. So we don't qualify for that because we're not active. And a lot of people aren't able to be getting loans for a while now, just because of that factor. And then they're big, it's too much of a risk. We don't know if you're going to make that kind of money when you open up. You have to be hopeful. You're going to hear no. It's going to be a very common thing. Other things that I've put in there too is I think I talked about location. So location is a big factor as well. You want to make sure that you check out your competitive market next to you. You do your due diligence and see the busy times of what the factors are, what's going to be the best operating stance for you as well. And then I feel like I'm not saying this very well. So essentially what I'm talking about is just preparing yourself for investors and how to prepare yourself financially as well. You want to make a spreadsheet of everything that's going to cost to open up, of what you know. You want to make a list of everything you need to get a whiteboard, and then also put everything there, what you need to do. Evaluate your city zoning centers, evaluate your permitting, go in to see what you can and can't do, if there's quiet hours, how the environment is in general, and like who you're trying to reach as well. The big thing is a partnership. My video is really long. The partnership is hugely important. We're an LLC and we have our own positions, and we've made that very clear, and we know how we operate and how that goes. Other things that will work well and that will help you not have any issues with your business is really implementing culture, your organization as well, and then your management operations, because that will save you a lot of work as well, especially if you trust each other and your communication is good. And then let's see. Sorry, guys. So other ways to try to frame away from rejection is SWOT analysis. It's so important. Your strengths, your opportunities, your weaknesses, your threats, just put them out there. It has to be done. And that's also a way for you to grow and for businesses to learn too. And they could probably continue to change. Maybe it's the season that they not sure how to prepare for, or maybe it's also there's a certain type of food that's not there. Or for us, like we were working on organization because it was everywhere. Let's see here. And then one thing that I definitely recommend, and that's also my paper, business resources. Use your small business association resource. Use all the resources. They're there for a reason. They're there to help you. They'll guide you. They'll teach you how to write your business plan or even look at it and fix part of it, which is great. And it does save a lot of a headache of trying to look things up on your own because nothing is written and clear. And that's one of the fun factors about being an entrepreneur. You got to have fun with it. A lot of the times too, people don't realize is the stress that goes into it, the commitment, the time, your money, and then money that you might not even see for a while. But if you're really devoted to it, it will pay off as long as you have your plan in order for you to be successful. And let's see here. I feel like I'm getting there. I don't know. How's everybody doing? And so essentially what I was looking at too for this is the financing behind it, the ways to plan, and also current events with the pandemic and how to move forward with it. Obviously, shop at small businesses, that's a huge thing. But if you were to open up a small business, how would you prepare for this? And that's what we're learning right now. Like we're in the process of making a menu that might be grab and go because even though we might be open, might still be social distancing. So we want to make everything as smooth as possible to run. And if you can write out if, ands, or buts to it, perfect. I think the entrepreneurship and small business, everything is amazing. That chapter was probably my favorite because I learned so much in it. But the best advice I can give to you is communicate, do your research, smile. It's okay. It's going to happen. And yeah. So sites that I've used today for my paper was Small Business Chronicles, Forbes, Order Nova, All Business Management, San Diegoville, Supermarket Permit. And then I also have some books. I read this one I read, Front of the House, just kind of talks about your factors and your structure. Other ones that have helped too, operate an open retail bakery I've used as well for my paper. It has a lot of good facts in there about how you should run it, and then also understanding like what sells and what doesn't sell. And that's a really big, important thing to do. And then we also have food and beverage operations. So lots of fun stuff. So I hope that made sense, but we'll see. And everyone stay safe. Great semester. Take care.